Guys, a very big happened in the capital of Russia, Moscow. I'm here not yet to blame anyone, I'm just gonna, because we all can make our own assumptions. I'm just gonna give you here straight facts. I'm gonna give you the events as they happened minute by minute, so by the end of watching this video you can make your very own decision. Some of us might already feel 100% convinced that we already know who is behind this, and trust me, I was just like this, but in the process of making this video my own opinion changed several times. So please, once again, don't jump into conclusions, please watch until the very end and then share with us all what do you think. What's up, investors? It's the Russian dude, and you most likely heard that there was a against one of the malls slash concert halls called Krokursk City Hall, located in the capital of Russia, Moscow. The very first video started to appear online. Later on, this was probably the very first video which showing the arrival of those, which approximately happened around 8:15 p.m. Moscow time. During the very first minutes, a lot of people were confused what is happening. Some people who went to the concert hall, they even thought that this was a part of the entertainment. But then as soon as the started to get really close and really loud, at that point it was obvious this is a and here where are very suspicious and very extraordinary things start to happen, because the Moscow police, Spetsnaz, all the government public safety structures, they were only notified 20 minutes after the very first, around 8:35 p.m. And guess what? They arrived on the scene only 55 minutes later, approximately at 9:10 p.m. Moscow time. At that point, the building itself was already, and the firefighters, they tried to localize it, but they were very unsuccessful for a very long time. Eventually they were successful, and eventually they were able to localize the fire, even extinguish it in the future. But then another absolutely unexplainable thing, so 9:10 p.m. is when Moscow police arrived, but only 9:30, 20 minutes later, is when they actually started entering the building, making it 1 hour and 15 minutes for those inside the building to be completely untouched, to be out of the reach for the justice and for the law. And approximately a couple of minutes after the Russian police entered the building, at least 4 of them reported were missing from the scene, so they, I'm assuming, escaped. And these were the very first images of the 2 of them driving in the car, which was also later identified. The suspected car is this white Renault. And during almost 4.5 hours, whenever police was operating inside the building trying to catch those people. So obviously the regular Russian people, they did find a way how to from the building and run as far away as possible. The helicopter started to drop water, eventually localizing and extinguishing the fire. And unfortunately the very first started to appear, they were brought outside. And later on, whenever reportedly not a single was detained, the Russian police started doing what they do, the same, to show that they are being useful. They literally started some of the Russian correspondents and journalists, as long as they were not from the federal channels like Channel 1, and then even some civilians, like, I don't even know. And it is not just me, I obviously read hundreds if not thousands of comments on different platforms of just regular Russians, those who are in the nearby scene of these events. And were basically thinking exactly the same thing, like, what's the point even of this Moscow police? They cannot catch anyone who they're supposed to catch. The only thing they can do is to cancel and to detain people during peaceful protests. Like, some people were even getting jail time, actual jail time, 8 to 10 years, being sent to jail, whenever they were saying that this is not a special military operation, this is a war in Ukraine, we want peace, literally just for this state, and people were going to prison. But in this event, when it mattered the most, they were completely helpless. And yes, guys, unfortunately I'm not able to show uncensored footage here on YouTube, but I did upload fully uncensored episode for free to my Patreon, because I do believe that this video needs to be seen by as many people as possible, but unfortunately YouTube is not even close to be the best platform to share this kind of events. The link to my Patreon is down below, and just once again, everything from today's episode, all the additional footage, everything is for free, guys, don't worry. And so yes, basically as soon as the active phase of this was over, we started to receive the very first statistics. At least at the moment of recording this video, unfortunately, 68 civilians were, more than 100 got injured. The number of ranging anywhere between 5 to 20. Some people were saying there were even more than 20, and yes, you heard it right. At the moment, once again, of recording this video, not a single one officially was detained, so all of them were able to escape. And now, after hearing these events which happened and supported minute by minute and witnessing yourself the complete usefulness of the Russian protecting authorities whenever it once again mattered the most, the main question is obviously who is to blame. At first we started receiving such notifications from many Western consulates and embassies inside Russia saying that those residents of those countries should be very careful and not attend any public events or places within the next several days. So some people immediately assumed that America knew something, it just did not want to share this information with the Russian authorities, but obviously a lot of people at first started assuming that this was somehow related to Ukraine. And America also confirmed that they did not see any single confirmation or evidence that Ukraine was involved in this. But Ukraine, on the other hand, at least some of its authorities, maybe not the highest ones, they started blaming the regime of Putin. They basically were saying that this is one of the ways how Putin can increase the reputation of his presidential next term. This is one of the ways how can increase the patriotic feelings, because maybe he's planning to do something in the near future. This version was also supported in one way or another by some of anti-Putin forces, such as you heard them, Russian Volunteer Corps, for example. They did mention that this is exactly the way how Putin came to power back in 1999, whenever civilian buildings were, and Putin used this as his presidential campaign to increase his ratings, eventually become a president, and justify in Chechnya. Later on, there was a Nordost. You probably heard about this, also in Moscow against one of the theaters, and this is once again whenever Putin used it most likely to increase his rating. And well, now it is pretty much his signature move according to the Russian freedom fighters, so they do blame Putin that he is the one behind this. The main idea here behind their statements and assumptions is that pretty much the following: the Russian army inside Ukraine is pretty much stuck. After Avdiivka they were not able to do anything. The support to Ukraine is coming, F-16s are coming, Ukrainians themselves are oil refineries across pretty much the entire Russia, and there is even border breach in Belgrade and in Kursk regions. Putin also just recently, quote-unquote, won the presidential elections, so now he can pretty much do whatever he wants. So this might have been one of the ways, once again, to increase the patriotic feelings and potentially announce another stage of this, or maybe even transition fully from special military operation and declare a total mobilization, or maybe even something more. In also either direct or indirect confirmation of these statements and assumptions by Russian freedom fighters, we also have some very suspicious events which were happening around Russian authorities in the last several days, weeks or months. For example, not that long time ago, before that happened, Russian Spetsnaz elite forces, they basically were able to detain some kind of teenagers which are creating a new detachment of Russian Volunteer Corps in Moscow. So right here, as you can see, Russian elite forces, they are able to prevent everything in advance, they're able to find everyone and everything, they're able to them and pretty much save the city. And then somehow mysteriously 20 or even more they actually enter literally through the front door into one of the biggest malls in Russia. They start civilians, and now it takes almost the entire hour for them just to arrive at the scene. There is also this leaked document allegedly by Shoigu, which was found not that also long time ago, speaking about another mobilization, the necessity of another mobilization of 300,000 people, which will most likely be used in Kharkiv frontline. And there's even some claims that some people around Russia started to receive some notices that they have to come up to show up in their nearest enlistment draft offices just to once again verify the information, exactly the same things which were happening before the very first mobilization partial one back in September, almost 2 years ago. This information was also indirectly confirmed by the Deputy Minister of Defense of Ukraine, Mr. Gavrilyuk, who was also saying that, well, Putin won the elections, now he can do whatever he wants, and most likely the top of his priorities on his agenda is to do another mobilization. And then we have the statements from the Russian State Duma who are saying that there is not going to be another mobilization just yet. And you already know, as soon as they start making statements like this, it means that something actual like this is coming, maybe most likely even very soon. But wait, there is more, because the representative of Russia to the United Nations, Vasily Nebenzia, he literally claimed, not that like a couple of days ago, that the goals of the special military operation in Ukraine are fully achieved, so at this point pretty much the special military operation is over. Just for then, the spokesperson of Kremlin, Dmitry Peskov, in less than a day after this statement, to say that, well, you know, like, in fact, like, we are no longer conducting a special military operation. In reality, this is already an actual. So the word which is literally prohibited, that the word that made some regular Russians go to jail, Dmitry Peskov, like I would say the right hand of Putin, he started saying this word across entire Russian media. Peskov also then claimed that right now Russia has 4 new territories, obviously referring to Donetsk, Luhansk, Zaporozhye and Kherson, which Russia now needs to protect. And then also the involvement of the West is getting much bigger, and Russia simply cannot allow it. Yes, all these statements you're hearing right now, they literally happened 24 to 48 hours before the in Moscow. Then we obviously have the statement by ex-president of Russia Dmitry Medvedev, who is notorious for his but this time he basically said that those responsible will be found and will be, even if it is representatives of Kiev from Ukraine, so he already pretty much made his own assumption that it was Ukraine behind this. And believe it or not, at least at the moment of recording this video, the official position of the Russian security services, let's call them like this, they said that we do not have evidence that this was Ukraine behind this. This was probably one of the most unexpected statements they made. Even the patriots were pretty confused, but we cannot forget that Putin has not yet made his own official statement, official announcement to the people of Russia. He is still yet to make it. So this is exactly when we're gonna know what's exactly happening and what are his future plans. But as of right now, once again at the moment of recording this video, the official position of the West, and pretty much the most commonly accepted version, who is behind this attack, is the. So they said that this is the revenge for Syria, Chechnya and Afghanistan, but a lot of people were kinda like, well, this is a little bit way too obvious. This is like, a lot of people started feeling like that this claim was just made to de-escalate the situation, because you can always blame this organization and then later on figure out who was actually behind this. I'm not saying that this were not them behind the attack or it was them behind this. Once again, the entire purpose of this video is for me to bring you as many facts as possible so you guys can make your own justified decision, and also let us all know, please, down below in the comments, who do you think was behind. And guys, before I end this video, I want to tell you that I did lose respect for so many Russian Ukrainian YouTubers who were laughing maliciously over civilians being. You guys already know my position about the. Yes, I am Russian, but I'm no way supporting Putin or this. I'm no way supporting Shoigu or this the army, but these are civilians we're talking about. Some of those people were maybe even against the war. These were somebody else's parents, brothers, sisters, cousins, grandparents, and even children. I have never made fun of Ukrainian civilians being. In the same way, I will never make fun of Russian civilians being. Some people can hate me for this, some of you might even call me a Russian supporter, but I make a clear difference between the regime of Putin and the Z army, Z patriots, and just regular Russian people. Once again, I am a regular Russian person. There is a huge difference between us. Even regular people, we do make fun of those crazy Z-Patriots, battle babushkas. I mean, this is pretty much the entire reason of my ridiculous Russian propaganda. They turn out to be exactly the people Putin wants regular Russians to see them. They turn out to be these malicious, hateful Ukrainians or Western people who laugh at events like this. And I mean, if you do want the war to be over, if you want to civilians to stop being, and then you still celebrate, explain me what are you doing even producing these videos, like talking about peace or talking about justice. And guys, I do believe that our community is better than this. We are above this hatred, and if you still decide to stay with us, I have the utmost respect to you. You're more than welcome to be here, because you are the one who truly believes that this needs to be over, the violence needs to be over, and you want those responsible to be punished. You are not here for... You are doing the right thing, and I am thankful to have you here. So guys, if you have not subscribed yet, just please go ahead and subscribe. Welcome to the Russian Dude Army. Let's hope and see the end of this nightmare altogether, hopefully sooner than later. And the truth will always win. Thanks so much.